driver off the deck for Corey Connors.
Here's driver off the deck for Victor Hovland.
So the driver off the deck. I know you would try this, right?
Oh my, what a shot.
Just to be able to hit it off the deck and get that thing down and fly it in running.
You have to put your foot on the gas. You pull out the driver off the deck and you put it on the green all the way up the hill.
Welcome back to another episode of Off the Deck. This episode is going to be a little bit different because it is major championship season. And who better to discuss the majors than someone who has caddied in not one, not two, not three, but 22 major championships. Will Davidson, how you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great. If I was any better, I'd be you. I just keep seeing podcast after podcast, guest after guest showing up. I'm excited for you and your podcast. But man, I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk a little golf, and yeah, I'm excited for some of these venues this year.
Yeah, I am too, especially because of your knowledge and your background of the four venues this year. You and I have walked one of them together, which was Augusta National. You've obviously been there other times, but then you have worked at the other three of the four this coming year, which are Aronimink, Shinnecock, and Royal Birkdale. I want to kind of jump right in just because this is a championship preview show as opposed to talking about why you love golf and those kind of things. Of course, the season is going to start April 9th and 12th at the sacred ground that is Augusta National. It is the 90th playing of the Masters. I don't think that it needs a ton of a preview. Last year, of course, Rory completed the career Grand Slam in the playoff with Justin Rose, which was just electric television. Tell me your thoughts, your experiences with the Masters, what that's been like for you. Of course, you and I walked it I guess it was now eight or so years ago. I remember you calling me that Tuesday night, but tell me what you're expecting this year from the Masters and what your experiences have been like there.
Yeah, I think it was like 8 years ago. It was, and props to Andy Sullivan for sorting those tickets out for us that week. That was clutch. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, I've been I think 4 times now to Augusta. I've gotten to walk it obviously with you. I've walked it a couple of times. Went with my dad. I've been there by myself or with a couple other buddies. But yeah, it's such a, I mean, if you've never gone, first off, if anybody that's watching this has never gone to Augusta and you have the chance, go. It's unlike anything else. My mom, who's not even a big golfer in any way, shape, or form, when she went, said it was one of the coolest things she's ever done. So do that first and foremost. But yeah, I mean, it's just a special place. There's no other place like it on earth. It is the epitome of perfection in the golf world. And there's really no other way to put that. I mean, it's the best of the best. So yeah, I hope that I get to go again this year. The plan is for us to have a crew that goes up there, searching for some tickets as we speak. That's already been in the works for a minute now. So yeah, I'm hoping I get to go again this year.
So as I mentioned, and you kind of covered it beautifully there, the Masters doesn't really need an introduction or a preview. We all know that there's crazy changes in elevation. The service there is second to none, kind of to your point, if you've never been. I mean, it is Disney World just for golf. But one of the things that I kind of made in my notes, and I intentionally didn't prep you for this, that's a fun kind of what if you happen to win the Masters, what would your menu be for the following year's champions dinner?
Ooh, that's a hard one, but an easy one. I would 100% go tomahawk ribeye. I am a huge tomahawk ribeye guy. So I'm going to go ribeye. We'll go a nice Southern meal with probably throw in some grilled asparagus. Have the option of grilled asparagus, maybe some Brussels sprouts from, where's that? Back Porch in Sea Island, Georgia. That place. For best Brussels sprouts I've had on this planet. So maybe do like that. Do some homemade mashed potatoes, and then for dessert, I'm gonna do a peanut butter chocolate fudge cake. That is gonna be my my go-to. Yeah. So boys are gonna be hurting after they have that meal.
And what would the beverage of choice be? What would your selection be from that just insane wine cellar?
That's a really good question. I would actually probably have to go for the best South African wine that they have. I am a big fan of South African wine, so I'd probably go a South African Pinot, or they do have some good cabs down there, but it'd be a South African wine for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder oftentimes, like that's kind of where my brain can go when I'm thinking about the Masters. Is the question I just asked you, and I'm like, you have just carte blanche to do whatever you want, and it is your dinner. Like you can go so many different paths, and I love the direction you went of like, yeah, we're gonna have giant 24-ounce ribeyes on everybody's
100%.
plate.
I'm gonna make every single person cut it right off the bone.
That's fantastic.
My backup choice though would be a Perry's pork chop. Perry's pork
Yeah.
chop. That'd be my backup choice because that thing is on point.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, there's a steakhouse called Perry's. I think there's probably 20 or so of them around the United States, and they have a pork chop that I think runs like 18 or 20 or so ounces, maybe. I mean, it is
It's
gigantic, and I mean it's shareable certainly. And I think the last time I had it, I think they cut it for you at the table because it's so
yeah.
large. Yeah,
Let's just
but
say this: I've never finished it all in one sitting. I've
same,
never once finished that entire pork chop.
same.
No.
Okay, so as we lead up to the 2026 Masters, Rory McIlroy is defending.
Mhm.
It is the 90th playing of the Masters. It's one of the few events that, I mean, it's the only event really that is played everywhere at the same place every single year. Who is your pick to win in 2026 and why?
So I've gone back and forth on this one. There's been a number of guys that tend to always play well. But the one guy that hasn't gotten it done that I think is very deserving is Mr. Runner Up last year, Justin Rose. I don't know how you can pick against Justin not winning one of these eventually. It's going to happen. He's such a phenomenal guy, first off, but I just think that his game, as it shows, I mean, look at the last however many years it's been. I feel like he's been runner up or top three in almost every year for the last probably 7, 8, 9 years. So I am going to pick Mr. Justin Rose to finally get it done this year. That's my pick to win the Masters. I don't think Rory goes back to back. I just think that's too hard to do. I think the pressure is now off, and I think this year, I don't want to say he's going to finish middle of the pack, but I don't think he's really going to be in contention on Sunday. I think it's just too much pressure for somebody to go back to back winning a major.
Yeah, and I can see Rory really just enjoying everything that the week entails now that he's in the champions locker room. I mean, literally stopping and smelling the roses, no pun intended, since you picked Rosie.
Yeah.
But like just taking every bit of it in and wearing his green jacket everywhere. I mean, that chest is going to be puffed out, and he's, I mean, it's like the Rory skip that we see. I feel like he will have that bounce in his step the entire week. So I am actually going to go with, I think, who we all thought Jordan Spieth was going to be in winning multiple Masters. I'm going with Scotty again. I think he is so comfy at this place. I mean, for him, it's like you and I going and just playing golf somewhere that we're accustomed to playing, and he's so much better than everyone, and his ball striking him, and the stats right now are they're just ridiculous. And I know that's not me going out on a limb by any stretch of the imagination by picking the best player in the world, but I feel like it just suits his game, and he's so comfortable there that there's very little that can derail him unless someone just gets on an absolute heater.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a phenomenal pick because that's, he obviously is the number one player in the world for, what is it, 83 weeks now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's
think it is something
ridiculous.
like that. So it's pretty, I don't know if anybody's done that really since Tiger, I think Rory had it for a minute, but I think Tiger, obviously I know Tiger's got the record by miles that will never get beat.
Right.
But I think, I mean, it just goes to show he's the best player in the world for a reason, and that's a phenomenal pick for somebody to win the Masters. Right back here at Augusta, little aim in corner nod
Yeah, in
here.
the background. I love it.
Got us in the background today. Yeah.
Okay, so who on Sunday finishes second? Who thinks they have the Masters in their grasp and either loses it or gets beaten by somebody either on the 72nd hole or coming down the stretch? Who do you think finishes second?
I'm going to go out there with another European on this. You know me, I've been in Europe for a bit, a couple years back, and I like a lot of those guys. I think their game really trends well. But I'm going to go Mr. Terrell Hatton. I think Terrell has got the game. He's been in contention a lot of times this past year. He's been at, a number of really good venues, and I swear he always plays well. And every U.S. Open, finished runner-up at the U.S. Open. this past year. I mean, he's a player to contend with, and maybe a dark horse pick for another major this year. But I
So
think Terrell's going to be my runner up.
as soon as his name left your mouth, I recall the stories of the groans from the Augusta National Clubhouse when Patrick Reed won, and I was thinking through like what that would be like if by chance he were to win the Masters. I would imagine that the scene would be very similar to when Patrick Reed won, of just everybody being like, "Oh gosh, he gets to come back here every year now, and now he has a green jacket." Like, oh god, like this is the guy that's gonna pull out his uh, 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 shotgun and shoot the green that he doesn't like that just that would be incredible. Um,
Yeah, no, Terrell would be somebody that a lot of people would be like, "Oh man, he won that." Like you said, but I personally love Terrell. He and I have gotten along and known each other for a long, long time.
yeah,
Speaking of
we spent
shotguns, we
time with
actually
him.
we shot shotguns together. Actually, Terrell and I did. Me, Terrell Beef years ago back in at Quail outside of Quail Hollow. So yeah,
Oh, that's
I
fun.
yeah,
Well,
another
and
another
you and I
story, but
we spent time with him at the U.S. Open at Erin Hills
mhm,
that
yeah,
afternoon. But
yeah,
yeah, Tyrrell, great guy. Obviously, he likes to show his emotions a little bit on the course. So my second place for the Masters in 2026 is none other than Bryson DeChambeau. I am hoping for a Bryson Scotty pairing on Sunday with them just throwing haymakers back and forth. I think that would be riveting television, which means it's likely not going to happen. But Bryson has seemed to slowly seem to figure out the intricacies of Augusta National and what it takes to play that golf course. A few years ago, he was the leader after day one. I think he's slowly learning what it takes to win there. So he is my
yeah.
pick to finish second at the Masters.
Yeah, no, good pick there. Yeah, he's obviously got the game to do it, and like you said, perfectly said. Is he is taking some time to figure that place out. I think he realized real quick you can't just overpower Augusta, and so he's really kind of worked on his intricacies and knowing everything about Augusta. But yeah, that's a great pick for somebody to be in contention on Sunday.
It'll be fun to look back on all these post major season.
Yeah,
So let's move to the PGA Championship. It is at Aronimink in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, May 14th through the 17th. Defending champion Scotty Scheffler, the first men's major at Aronimink since the 1962 PGA Championship. It is, of course, a Donald Ross, and you have looped there. So tell me about Aronimink and the ins and outs of this golf course and what we can expect from this upcoming PGA Championship.
yeah. One of my favorite courses I've caddied at. Absolutely just mint place that this is. I caddied for Ann Van Dam there in the women's PGA, KPMG. And it is a golf course that is a ball striker golf course. It's not from my memory, it's not overly long. I don't have the stats right there in front of me, but granted, we were playing it from women's, as a women's PGA, so I didn't get to play it all the way back, but it is one of those golf courses that is bent all everywhere you see. Fairways are bent, everything's bent. But the rough is extremely treacherous. It's going to be one of those. It's a typical northeastern golf course when it's pure, but the rough is going to be really juicy, really thick, and it's going to be a ball striker course. So yeah, for that place, it's going to be somebody who not necessarily is the longest off the tee.
Okay.
It's going to be somebody who keeps it in the fairway and putts really well. Greens are a bit tricky there. A lot of runoffs. There are a couple par fours that I remember that are somewhat reachable, but they're very risk reward.
Okay.
Par threes are epic out there. They are really, really good. There's a couple that are really long. There's a couple that are short, but with a lot of danger around them. So it'll be a really good challenge for these guys. I'm really excited to see who's going to come out on top. My pick for this though is going to be Mr. Scotty Scheffler, ball striking guru. I mean,
So
and
back-to-back
he
PGAs for Scotty.
yeah, I'm gonna go Sky for the PGA. Again, it's not one that any of these guys have really played, so we don't have any comparison of like who's played well there. But I just go back to he's a guy that out of the rough, especially out of thick rough, seems to hit really good balls. Has a lot of power. So I think that he's gonna kind of overpower and overcome that golf course and those rough or that rough out there. So yeah, that's gonna be my pick to win the PGA is Mr. Scotty Scheffler.
So I want to go
Ted
back.
gets him another one.
Yeah, Ted gets him another one. Yeah, gosh, the golf gods have been so good to Ted after he had to deal with Bubba Watson for so many years.
Well deserved.
After, I want to go back to something you said about the greens. So you said the greens being tricky. Expound on that a little bit. What makes the greens at Aronimink tricky?
So they've got some runoffs. There's a couple false fronts. And with bet, a lot of times you're going to get, if you don't control the spin, you could rip it right off the green. Some of those holes that I remember, you rip it off the front of the green, you're down 30, 40, 50 yards. So there's a couple of those, especially number 10, if I remember correctly. That green was diabolical in the fact that it's a straightaway par 4, and then it's straight up the hill. But this green is really narrow. So we actually had a shot into that one that we played it off a sprinkler head unintentionally, off the back of the green because we were trying to spin it back, just from the back edge of the green. And one hopped into the rough, spun out of the rough, and then still barely stayed on the front of the green. So it is a really tricky spot if you can't control the spin, which I think, again, Scotty is arguably one of the best in the world at controlling his spin, and hitting shots like that. So yeah, those greens, though, are really tricky when it comes to subtle breaks. A lot of them are slightly elevated. So it's not like blind or anything, but they have just enough elevation to where you really kind of have to take it into play like 1-2 yards. And it's an easy something to mess up and one off the back of the green where the rough is just, it's dead. You're going to be dead in spots around those greens, just because of how thick the rough is. And, a lot, like I said, a lot of runoffs. So
Yeah,
it's a tough spot.
And that's one of the things I like when it runoffs. There's a lot of courses that the guys play on tour where there's rough around the greens, and that actually saves them from a potentially treacherous shot, right? Like they can
Mhm.
hit a little bump and run, but if the greens are as tricky as you're saying they are, and the rough is as thick as it is, it doesn't sound like that's the case at Aronimink. Is that what I'm hearing? Like you can't just get bailed out by hitting a shot slightly offline into the rough and then chip out on the green in one putt, right?
Yeah. Now, where you can get bailed out is, especially on the back nine, is a lot of the holes are parallel on the back nine. So you can get bailed out that way. If you really hit one offline, you can get lucky and get in, be in another fairway. However, you've got to be pretty far offline to reach another fairway there because there's going to be obviously a large crowd and a lot of rough in between them, but not a lot of trees in this golf course. Front nine has more trees. But there's not a lot of holes on this course that you really have to work the ball. Front nine has more than the back. Back is a lot more like straight down, straight back, just with a lot of really well-placed bunkers. But the front nine has a lot of tree work where you kind of have to work the ball a bit more on that side. But
Okay.
for the most part, though, I think you're going to have guys that get bailed out just by missing in the correct spots off the tee. But again, if you get stuck in the rough, there's no telling where the ball's going to end up on your second shot.
Okay. So you went with Scotty. I am going to go with Xander Schauffele to win at Aronimink. The last tour event that was hosted at Aronimink was the 2018 BMW. And Keegan Bradley won it at 20 under par. I don't think we will see 20 under par at the 2026 PGA.
Yeah.
I like to think that the PGA of America has kind of changed their approach towards their major and is making it more difficult. I think we're slowly kind of seeing that trend happen, which for the longest time I've kind of viewed the PGA as like the fourth kind of major. I don't know about you, but like I put it way behind the US Open, the Masters, and the Open Championship. So I'm going to go with Xander to win. Who do you have finishing in second place?
Second place, I've been trying to think of players that would, again, really good ball strikers, people that keep it in the fairway. I hate to sound like a broken record, but you're going to hear this person a lot from me today. But it's going to be none other than Tommy Fleetwood. I think he's a guy that, go look at the Ryder Cup, go look at playing at Wentworth, go look at playing anywhere that he plays. He's always in the fairway. He's Mr. Fairway Finder. So I'm going to go with Tommy Fleetwood finishing second there. But that is not the last time we will hear that name for the rest of this podcast. I can assure you that.
So for a lot of the reasons you had, Tommy, I'm going Ludwig Oberg. I think Ludwig is very similar in terms of game and ball striking. All the characteristics you described that Tommy has. I feel like Ludwig is the same, and I feel like he is dangerously close to breaking through and winning one of those majors. But it's so hard to do. So you're going with Scotty to win, Tommy to be second. God, that would be electric. I mean, that's one.
Yeah.
As much as I love Scotty and want to see him just bust through records, it would be hard not to be pulling for Tommy if he is right there, either tied or just right on the heels of Scotty come Sunday.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That would be some great TV to watch.
So let's transition to arguably the most I'm trying to think of the appropriate adjective to use to describe the U.S. Open. But JJ Spawn is, of course, the defending champion. He won at Oakmont last year. Shinnecock Hills Golf Club out on Long Island, Southampton, New York, June 18th through the 21st. The first thing that comes to mind is Carnage. You worked the U.S. Open there with Andrew Johnston back in, what was that, 2018, I guess?
2018 or 19. I can't remember which year that was.
Tell me about just the level of difficulty and dumb it down for me, the 9 handicap of how insanely hard Shinnecock is.
It is arguably the hardest golf course that I've ever caddied,
Wow.
especially on the Saturday. That Saturday, if you remember, that Saturday was absolute carnage. There were only 2 players under par that day. If my memory serves me correct, it was Daniel Berger and Tony Finau, and they were the first 2 guys off. They both shot 1 under and moved up 46 spots.
Goodness gracious.
So if that tells you anything of how hard that was, we played with Phil that day. We shot like 82, 83. I think Phil got us by 1, even with the 9 or 10, whatever he took on that hole. But no, that course is just like the greens are concrete. If you miss in the wrong spot, as you saw Phil do, you miss in the wrong spot, you can chip up, go past, go back, forth, just play Plinko. They're so fast. They're so undulating. And another story that I haven't really told much is the next hole after Phil did that. A lot of people don't realize that he actually played it off the back. And so he hit the ball. Pin was kind of back right of the green. He hit it front left. He decided to play it to the back of the green and off the back hill and bring it back to the hole instead of going right at the hole. He had an open line right at the hole, but Tim, his brother and caddy at the time, come up and said, watch, I bet Phil plays it off the back. And sure enough, played it straight off the back into the fringe, came all the way back down. But it's just one of those places that you can do that. There's 6 different ways to get to a hole. But at the same time, every single one of them has trouble if you don't play it perfectly. You know, it's just a green complex that is almost impossible to read. And if you miss even in the slightest wrong spot, a 3-putt is a good finish here. I mean, seriously.
And is it just so? How many pinnable locations do they have on each of these greens? There can't be many.
There's not many, and that's the thing, is like where the pins are almost impossible to get to. You have to. This is a golf course that you have to take your medicine of playing to the middle of the green, or playing to pick a quadrant and try and play that, or even pick a half of the green, because you can't go at a lot of these flags, especially on that 13th hole that Phil made the 10 or whatever. That pin, there is no chance. I mean, it is almost impossible to stop a ball within probably 8 feet of where that pin is. And you have to play. Beef actually played it perfectly, and we played it about 7 to 10 feet past the hole, and it finished like 15 feet, which was a phenomenal shot. That was one of the best birdie looks we had of the day, and we still ended up making boat.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and the fairways are fairways have any width to them at all? Or are we talking 20-yard wide fairways?
Yeah, they've got some width, but they've got some. So they've got width in areas, but then they bring them in real tight, real quick with bunkers and some of the tall grass and stuff like that. So again, even off the tee, you've really got to play, play smart. It's not one that you can really overpower. If you miss your line off the tee, you're in the tall stuff or you're in one of those bunkers, and those bunkers are dead. Those bunkers are deep, they're nasty. They've got weird lips on them. It's just a hard place to play all the way around. Beautiful golf course, but just really hard place to play. It honestly, it's a jacked up version of Erin Hills, a harder version of Erin Hills. The two places remind me a lot of each other in looks, but Shinnecock is miles harder.
Yeah, because there's no trees, right? I mean, it's
No
just
trees.
yeah.
Yep, no trees. You got one. You got the clubhouse top of the hill, and which you can see from the entire property. And yeah, that's literally the only structure that's out there.
And are the bunkers in the rough that you're talking about that are off the fairways, is that something where you're pitching out sideways, or I mean, just take your medicine, or what does
Yeah,
it look like from those?
not so much as pitching out sideways. We're not talking like St. Andrews style bunkers. It's more they're deep, but they have like the real tall grass on the backside of them. Tall fescue stuff like that. But it's a lot of those where you're going to have to hit. You may have 195 yards, 180 yards flag, whatever from there, and
Goodness.
you're gonna have to hit a pitching wedge or a sand wedge out of it. You don't have to go sideways, but you're gonna have to hit something high, just move it down there, and now you've got 100 yards left or whatever, into your third shot, and that's into those greens. You're already staring bogey or double in the face.
So when I think about Shinnecock and especially the U.S. Open, and of course Brooks Koepka won that one back in 2018 when the scoring average exceeded par, which is just crazy to me. Brooks, I don't remember the exact number he said, but he made a comment. He was like, "There's like 10 or 15 guys that I've got to beat." He's like, half the field mentally they don't have a chance. Then you now pair that down. There's like 50 people left, and he's like, yeah. Of those 50, there's like 25 that I'm just better than. And then now that's cut in half. And so I think about that comment, and he might have made it specifically about the US Open. That wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. But I feel like the pool of people that can win at Shinnecock is really, really small. So with that as kind of, you might know where my pick is headed. Who is your pick to win the 2026 US Open at Shinnecock?
Well, if you go back to that 2018 and look who finished runner up there, that was none other than Tommy Fleetwood. That golf course is built for Tommy.
Okay,
Ball
tell me more.
striking guru. Well, he keeps in the fairway. He's not overly long. He can be long if he needs to, but that golf course is just set up for him. He can work it both directions off the tee. We obviously all know how good he is off the tee. I mean, he misses 6 fairways a week, if that. I mean, that is the type place that he can go out and win. And obviously, he's a great putter, has a great short game. And for somebody, the other part I look at is people that have a really strong mental game, and his mental game is second to none. Go through, look at what he's gone through with how many times he's finished second, and that can go both ways. Like, oh, he's not mentally strong enough to get it done, but at the same time, that takes a toll on somebody. Like, hey, I've finished second again. And if you look at all of his interviews, every single time it's always positive. Like, man, like I'm really doing some great stuff here. Like, I'm excited for the future because I'm doing some great stuff. He never takes the, God, it sucks. I should have done this on this hole, whatever. So that mentality is what it's going to take to win. First, a U.S. Open, but secondly, a U.S. Open at Shinnecock. And I think Tommy Fleetwood has got the game. This is going to be his first major. That I got Tommy Fleetwood on this one for sure.
God, that would be. I mean, your predictions so far are going to make for one hell of a major championship season. We haven't even gotten to the Open yet. So everything you described about Tommy is who I think Scotty Scheffler already is. Like I said, I've already got Scotty winning. I think the Masters in 2026, but I think he gets it done at Shinnecock, largely because of the things that Brooks Koepka has said. I think Scotty is that guy. He is him, whatever that means. I know the kids say that these days. But I think just the mental fortitude, I don't think he's scared of anything, and I don't think he lets any kind of moment or bad shot impact him ongoing throughout the round. I think he has a very, very short memory, and I think that is paramount to winning a U.S. Open. So I got Scotty winning the U.S. Open at Shinnecock. Who do you have coming in second?
Second, I've gone with Ludwig on this one, Mr. Oberg himself.
robot.
I think that's, again, another person that once he gets hot, now I think he can be a little streaky at times, but once he gets hot, I mean, he's arguably got one of the best golf games in the world. Realistically, I think he's got all the mechanics and everything that Scotty has. I just think he's just a little bit further behind when it comes to age and all that. So I think Ludwig is going to be your runner up here. But again, I went back and forth because I do think Scotty's obviously got the game for Shinnecock as well. I mean, and Brooks actually put it perfectly. There's literally probably 15 guys that can win here.
Yeah. If that.
If that. I do actually think, and I don't know how JJ is going to play this year. It is obviously almost impossible to go back to back, but I do think this is a good golf course for JJ as well. Oakmont's obviously a really difficult place to play. I think JJ has a really good game that could potentially have, him have a good week here as well. So JJ would be somewhere
18 and 19.
I know he did. That was at both of them. I know.
Yeah.
Played a practice round with him too.
So I'm going with the guy that it's a bit of a home game for. I'm going Cam Young. A New York guy.
Great pick.
And I think he kind of has a bulldog mentality. He can get a little hot under the collar, which might cause him to derail potentially, but I like his game a lot. I think he will be right there on Scotty's heels come Sunday. So now let's transition to what I think is my favorite major that is not called the Masters, the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale, July 16th through the 19th. It is the 11th time that Birkdale will have hosted the Open Championship. Course, classic links style golf course. Notable champions are Jordan Spieth, Tom Watson, Arnold Palmer that won on this golf course. One of my favorite golf memories ever is Jordan hitting that ball right. That was on the other side of the Titleist truck. And you've got Greller running up the mountain to try and give him some kind of a line. They have no idea what the yardage is. He hits it to the right side of that green, gets up and down for a bogey, and then goes on to defeat Matt Kuchar. I mean, I will never forget that 30 minutes of television. I feel like none of us knew what was going on. Like, it was just like, what is happening? Like, he is letting this major championship slip away. And then if you recall, on the very next hole, it was a par 3, and he almost dunked it. So he made a birdie right after that crazy hole where he was hitting from the Titleist truck. But you have obviously spent time at Royal Birkdale. Tell me what it is like working that course and what we can expect come July 16th.
Love Royal Birkdale. Awesome venue. It's such a cool course. It's hilly. It's not like a lot of the other open venues where, they're flat, and, obviously St. Andrews is quite flat. It's not like that. This has got a lot more hill to it, a lot more undulation, a lot more blind shots, tee shots. But it's such a cool place. It's really cool too, because for the fans and the patrons there, you get to see them all on top of the hills and all that. Like, you can see, you look up and it's almost like a stadium venue, because there's people that are 50 feet above you, but they're on top of like a big sand dune or whatever. So it's a really cool venue for that, because you just have that like stadium feel almost. We played well there. I was with Beef there, played with Andrew, did Birkdale there with him. I remember that shot very, very well from Mr. Spieth. I was in the locker room. We had finished just prior to that. And I remember watching it in the locker room, not far actually down from his locker. They had a TV in there, so we were sitting there watching it. But yeah, what an awesome venue. There's one guy who's got to be favored here. I know you haven't asked who my pick's going to be yet, but there's one guy that is going to be favored here that I think has a chance. And unfortunately, this is going to be the time I'm picking twice. I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, but it's Tommy Fleetwood. This is his home track. He plays next door He's grown up on this place. He's probably played this golf course 250 times.
Oh my gosh.
And
Okay.
and this is, I mean, this is the spot for him. This is the one that I think, again, it's hard to pick Tommy to win twice this year,
But you
especially
have.
2 majors, but I have. And, but you look at his track record over, the last couple of years, he's been right in the mix every single year
Right.
of every single tournament, it seems like, and just hadn't gotten it done. But now I think now that he's gotten over the hump and obviously won East Lake this year, I think he's going to have a breakout year. This is the perfect golf course for him. Again, like I said, he grew up on this place. He's got, one of the better games in the world. I don't see why he's not a top choice to win this one.
So I was kind of giggling to myself as you were picking Tommy leading up to us discussing the Open Championship, because he too is my pick to win at Royal Birkdale. I think he finally, I mean, you kind of covered everything that I was going to say, so there's no point in me repeating it. But yeah, I think Tommy's gonna win his first major there. If he happens to do what you have predicted, that would be an insane season, and he's probably player of the year. Which I mean, I don't know that I've ever read anything or heard any kind of ill will towards or about Tommy Fleetwood. He seems like just a remarkable guy, great human being. And I feel like everybody is always pulling for him regardless of the tournament and the circumstances. So I'm hopeful that Tommy is lifting the claret jug that Sunday. Who do you have
Yeah.
coming in second?
All right, so this pick is going to throw some people off. It's actually going to be a guy that I've worked for, and I'm not picking him because I worked with him, but I'm picking him because of his track record in British Opens, and that is going to be Mr. Haotong Lee. And the reason I say that, go look at what he did this last year. Finished third, I believe, in the Open this past year, and the last time they played at Birkdale, he also finished third. So Haotong Lee knows how to play British Opens, has played there, played well there, and I think he's on the rise. The fact that he's now got his PGA Tour card, he's going to come out swinging. He's obviously gone through a lull the past couple of years, but he's a phenomenal golfer. As anybody that's ever watched him knows, he's gone toe-to-toe with Rory and taken Rory down in Dubai. He beat Bryson in Dubai. I mean, he is a world-class athlete and a world-class golfer. He's now getting older and matured a lot more since the day I worked with him. But he's got the game to do it around there. He's very, very good with his long irons, and that's what you need around there. You got to stripe the long irons well. Because a lot of those tee balls, require a 4-iron, 3-iron to hit off the tee, and he's one of the better guys on tour doing that. So that's going to be my dark horse second runner-up pick is Mr. Haotong Lee.
I love it. So my second place pick is more of me just trying to speak it into existence, just because I think we all feel things when this guy is in contention, and it's none other than who won last time at Royal Birkdale, but Jordan Spieth. I just feverishly want him to return to competitive golf. Not that he's not in competitive golf. You all know what I mean, but I want him to be in contention and be in the hunt, because I mean, and Kyle Porter talks about this just beautifully on his Twitter account, but it is a roller coaster of emotions whenever Jordan Spieth is in contention. I mean, we're going to make birdie from the woods, and then we're going to make a bogey from on the green. Like, you never know what you're going to get with a Jordan Spieth experience. And I want that back. I feel like we have a true front runner in Scotty, and now we kind of need the antithesis to that of, like, we don't know what's going to happen, but here comes Jordan Spieth. And I'd love to see him like inside the top 10 on going into Sunday, and then just go out in, like, I don't know, 29, and you're like, oh my God, here comes Jordan. I think that would be a really fun Sunday at Royal Birkdale, and I have him picked to finish second place.
I think that's a really cool pick, and I think that that's something that is very possible. If not with Jordan, with somebody else. That's a place that if you can get hot and are really striking it well, you can go tear up that back nine. You can go really low. So if you get somebody out there that's get good weather, obviously it depends on the weather there
Right,
too.
the draw, yeah.
You can get good weather going into, on Sunday if you have an early round and go shoot something, go throw an 8-9 under somewhere.
Right.
you can be in contention on that Sunday for sure, because it's a place that if you're on and your game is feeling really good, you can go really low there. So I definitely think there could be somebody come from behind on that one.
That'd be
Could
fun.
be
That would be a
yeah,
lot of fun to
that would be a
watch.
lot of fun. Yeah.
Any closing thoughts? I mean, I am really excited about the major championship season. I mean, I feel like it's what we all look forward to. Well, I got a question for you. What's your favorite major of the year?
My favorite major, I'm kind of like you. Obviously love the Masters, but I really have to say I love the British Open. It's so much fun. It's so different. Caddying and opens over there they're just different because you get that super early, tee time of that 6 a.m. and you're like, wow, this is the earliest tee times of the year. It's like 6 a.m. Obviously, over when I was growing up, before I caddied, watching the Open at 2:30 in the morning
Right.
here is always fun. I'd always get up and do that. So I gotta say, the British Open is probably my favorite major. It's hard obviously to pick against Augusta, but I mean, British Open is really, really cool. If I were to win one, I would say that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I there's something so romantic about the RNA, and I think how they handle things. And then there's always the storyline of the weather and the draw and just what that looks like. Yeah, I'm with you. I think, and I too, I love waking up at 4 a.m. and turning on ESPN and seeing what's happened and who's where and what the leaderboard looks like. So,
Oh, exactly.
Will, thank you for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. I look forward to reflecting on this show and seeing how horribly we missed. But I like to think that you have gone ahead and named and claimed Tommy Fleetwood as Player of the Year for 2026.
Hey, honestly, I thought he could have been Player of the Year for 2025. But yeah, I think Tommy's going to have an absolute breakout year this year. So I'm excited to see him. He's such a great guy. I have so many good memories with Tommy, and even last year, or year before, excuse me, when RBC, obviously when he lost in the insane playoff to Nick Taylor, when Nick hit the 83-foot eagle putter, whatever it was, something incredible. This is a story that I've not told many people, and I'll tell it real quickly. But we had a charter flight to the U.S. Open, LA Country Club, right from there, and we all were very fortunate. The plane that we were on all was business class the whole way back. And I knew that when we got on the plane, we were going to have to be waiting on Tommy and Nick because they were both on that flight as well. And so I didn't know the seating arrangement. I didn't know anything like that. I'm sitting in, 19D, random 23D, whatever it is, middle back of the plane. And, we'd sat there on the at the gate for well over 2.5 hours later than what we were supposed to. Shane Lowry's sitting behind me. Shane and his caddy are sitting behind me, or a couple of seats in front of me, whatever it was. And we're just talking, and obviously we'd all had a couple drinks by this point, because they were like, well, we got to do something. We got to do something for all the guys on the plane. So, and then we see Tommy walk on the plane, Tommy and Finno, and Tommy looking at his ticket, and he walks up, and his seat's right next to mine. And so Tommy sits down right after he's lost the playoff, right? And everybody's like, oh no, Tommy, trying to bring him here. Like, hey, do you want to go sit up in first class? Whatever. There's a couple first class seats. And he looked up, he's like, oh, no. I'm going to sit with Will. I'm perfect. It's great. And so we had a 5-hour flight from, Toronto to LA, and Tommy and I sat and chatted, and it was like, it was awesome. It was one of my better memories that I've had with Tommy, because he's such a down to earth guy. He's so humble. He's a bro, and there's no other way to put it. And just the fact that he was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna chill with Will. I'm good. Like, I don't need to sit up front. I don't need to be. I'm not better than anybody else. Like, yeah, I'll sit in 23B or whatever it was.
Right.
And I'll hang with Will. And that's what we did. We sat and talked, and he asked me about my family, asked me about how everything's doing, everybody else. I mean, it was great. We had a great time. So that's another Tommy Fleetwood story that I hadn't told much, but Tommy that's another reason why I like always picking him is again, his character, his mental ability, his humbleness, and that's going to pay off for him down the road.
I love that. Well, that is a great way to close this out. Will, Really appreciate you taking the time to come on. Like I said, looking forward to looking back on these and seeing how how well we did or how poorly. But for Will Davidson, I am Josh Stecker, and this has been another episode of the official Tommy Fleetwood podcast.